180-degree header Coyote. Oh, let's take a look at this. I think I remember this. That was pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that was pretty cool. Oh yeah, here's one of the many key examples as to why Need for Speed Unbound is just a waste of f***ing time. Instead of having a story in this game, they should have just not had one, because the one they ended up with was terrible, because the dialogue is trash, and even the smarter, wiser characters say some pretty dumb bullshit. Like, take this character, for instance, who is talking about street racers being persecuted like they're some kind of minority group or marginalized group of people. It's really f***ing special. Also, this footage is from Gamer's Little Playground. I could not for the life of me figure out which episode of my playthrough this happens in.
Yo, kid, you hear the mayor on the radio? You know it was the same back in the day? The city has always been cracking down on us. Sure, some street racers have side hustles that are bad for the city, but most of us do it because this is an art, okay? The city is our canvas, and painting all of us with the same brush, it ain't right.
Not all street racers. Hashtag not all street racers. Also, what's even funnier, we do this because this is an art. We run from the police in street racing, cause millions upon millions of dollars of property damage, and we crash into civilians and terrorize people, but it's an art. But the people scamming people and other street racers, those are the bad guys. We're the good villains. Those are the bad villains. Jesus f***ing Christ. Like, do you hear yourselves? Oh, someone commented about this. Oh boy. Do you remember Miss? She didn't use his turn signal. It's pretty good. So the channel's Andre Antunes, 2.2 million views. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, Black Panther, one of my favorite Need for Speed YouTubers, by the way. I commented on one of his videos because he was talking about like Need for Speed Undercover, and he was like, I guess talking about, I can't remember what it was, whether it was like the hate towards Undercover isn't justified, or maybe it is, or this is the worst Need for Speed, or it isn't. I can't remember. And I was like, I don't know. It's not a very thought-provoking conversation, but based on previous things I've heard him say before, I thought it'd be more interesting to hear him talk about, you know, share his views on like SUVs and non-commercial trucks and things, because he's gone on like mini rants and mini tirades on like other social media platforms and maybe in previous videos, I don't know. And I just thought it was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, you feel very strongly about this, but you haven't elaborated. And I was like, I guess poking the bear a little bit to be like, hey, you know, what you're saying doesn't make sense to me. Can you explain to me, I guess? So here's the comment I made. I think further elaboration on his stance regarding banning non-commercial trucks and banning SUVs whilst owning a Porsche SUV, because I thought he owned like a Macan or something, that he uses with a flatbed to transport cars would be a more divisive upload, which I figured was the purpose of the video he made. That's a bit more interesting than just enjoying games we might not enjoy as much, you know, basically talking about how you can enjoy games that the majority don't like because your enjoyment is more important. So, you know, so basically his things are non-commercial trucks should be banned, SUVs should be banned, and I thought that was interesting because he uses an SUV, Porsche, or a semi-large Porsche vehicle to pull his sports cars on a flatbed, which is a large vehicle, but it's not commercial and probably doesn't require a special license. And I was like, that doesn't quite make sense to me. So maybe it would be neat to hear your thinking, because he's usually pretty eloquent. And I don't know, I thought it'd be a cool video. And his response was, if you call my wagon an SUV again, I'll throw poo at your pet. You could have just called me a baboon. I could hear this comment in your voice though, which I thought was kind of funny. And so my response was, SUV or not, you do have a trailer though. Is the issue people are unqualified driving large vehicles? Wagons, at least the ones here in the States, are still pretty big. I was just curious where your stance stems from. He doesn't really elaborate on the non-commercial vehicles thing so much, like what the difference is between a non-commercial vehicle and him just pulling a flatbed and a sports car with a wagon, which I guess his car is a Panamera, which I forgot. So he says, for SUVs, weight, dangerous driving height, no valid purpose over a sedan, wagon, or minivan, which is fair. Minivans are kind of king. Used by the car industry to cut corners on safety of both pedestrians and occupants. For most models, no actual increase in usable size. All lost in the body and weight. Fine, whatever. I just like SUVs because I think they look cooler. That's all. More damage to roads for no reason. Trucks, all the above but worse inside space than all cars listed. A license should be introduced for valid use. I'm assuming non-commercial trucks means like maybe large straight trucks or vans or pickup trucks. I'm not sure. Because when I think of trucks, I think of like big pickup trucks or, you know, big box vans or semi-trucks. Tax heavier vehicles more. America needs to introduce safety testing, all that sort of stuff. And so I was like, okay. So I said, most of that I agree with and I see where you're coming from. Weight I can see. A lot of cars are unnecessarily bloated. Looking at the BMW M5. I disagree on roof height, unless if you're talking about center of gravity. Jeep Wranglers are fundamentally stupid. Honestly, I don't see roof clearance as an issue either. Minivans are goated though. Since I already have a minivan and my own car is an M3, I've just been using a Lexus 450h as a temp daily, which is like a crossover or SUV. I'd rather have an SUV over a sedan as a daily purely for aesthetic preference. I don't like wagons personally. Every sedan or coupe I've had is either sporty or needs to be fun, like an M5, like an F90 or an E39, not the new thing. I also like the larger, more aggressive vehicles, V8 power like a Durango or something, or a Bentayga. But some EV SUVs also look nice too. Just add that as an extra note. Pickups and minivans are the only vehicles I look at for usable space. Passengers or cargo, whichever is more relevant to the type of vehicle. And this last point is in response to him talking about unnecessary road damage. Maybe that's more specific to the UK. Most of our road damage, I'll just read my response. We have so much semi-traffic where I live, road damage is kind of inevitable. Heck, I drive a 70,000 pound truck full of potatoes at least 3 times a week. And in the US, most of the road damage is going to be from extreme changes in weather, especially in the Midwest. In the Midwest, roads are constantly under construction from constant sub-zero freezing and unfreezing. Going from like sub-zero temps to really hot summer climates. That can really, really mess up the roads. So the vehicles we drive, it just isn't going to have a massive impact on the health of the roads. Climate in the UK is, weather in the UK is a walk in the park. I can say that because I lived there. I've lived in several countries. I've lived in the US, South Africa, Singapore, the Netherlands, the UK. Sorry, I hit the mic. The UK is an extremely mild country when it comes to weather. It's never cold. It's never hot. The wind is never that bad. There's no tornadoes. You're not... As long as you don't have seasonal affect disorder, it's fine. But his point about licensing, 1000% agree. Yes on licensing. Let's have an SUV license for people who want SUVs. Let's have light-duty truck licenses. Honestly, I even go on to say that I think there should be a classification of license for people who want to drive sports cars. Because some of y'all need that driver mod. And the taxing thing, I don't really care about that. As for visibility, I've never had any issues, but that's just from my own personal experience from driving E46 M3s, WRXs, Grand Cherokees, Toyota SUVs, minivans, Chevys, Dodges, whatever, to full-size commercial semi-trucks. Never had any issues with visibility. So I don't know what he's talking about. I've driven European vehicles too, obviously, like regular passenger vehicles. I'm not sure what he's talking about there with visibility issues. The only car I've had like bad visibility in was a Lamborghini Huracan. But who cares? But yeah, that was just interesting. So I thought I'd share that because, he's a big YouTuber. I thought it would be a neat video to see him make, like actually deep dive into his thoughts and like try and predict what people's counterpoints would be and answer them, Like, I believe in banning SUVs, or at the very least, including licenses. that people should have if they want to drive an SUV. I believe in banning commercial trucks. Well, let's define what a commercial truck is first, because I don't actually know what you're talking about. And then explain how that's different to your rig setup with your Porsche and your flatbed, because I think that might be important, because that was the first thing I thought of. And actually, no, that's a lie. The first thing I thought of when he said, don't call my wagon an SUV, I will say, I do recall you calling the Panamera a pregnant Porsche. So, it's not an SUV. It is a wagon, but is it still a pregnant Porsche?
We got a pregnant Porsche with police near it. Not much else to say there. Just move on to the next one.
Moving on.